Doom or Salvation. Chapter 1. Strange Encounter. It was an abnormally fine day for October in the nation of Cher. The Salem continent was known for early winters, and Faith was putting on a show on the outdoor basketball court in the compound of Cher's most expensive private school, Southeastern Academy. Faith's talent on the field was no secret to students and staff. She was the lead and the other players, merely extras. Students and staff of all ages and identities gathered, forming an arc of a crowd on one side of the court at the news that Faith was playing again. Faith stopped joining the girls' team practice at the end of the school day without reason a couple of weeks before. So, on that day, there were students who were supposed to be in additional tutoring classes, students whose parents had long arrived to pick them up, teachers who should have been teaching or on the way home, and so many people with duties at the court. 4:20 p.m. 20 minutes since practice started, and Faith was showing no sign of fatigue. Her hops, double dribbles, and her dunks made her the privileged on the court. Unfortunately, it was the opposite when it came to financial privilege. Amongst the Nikes, Adidas, and other top-brand shoes sported by the girls on the court, her patched shoes were easily noticeable. One thing she was thankful for was the school's assigned uniform, because it helped her hide how bad things were at home. Southeastern Academy was a school only the upper class could afford, but Faith made headlines during the under-15 female basketball inter-schools competition in middle school and earned herself a scholarship to Southeastern Academy. Basketball was the sport the people of Cher have always been most invested in, and there were many competitions for boys and girls teams, such as the provincial competitions, under-20 inter-schools, and under-15 inter-schools. Shortly after the players were back from a 5-minute break, Faith had been idly standing in the middle of the court for longer than usual. The now smaller crowd was curious as to why. Faith left the court and walked towards the classroom without notifying anyone, leaving everyone confused. Questioning whispers turned into gasps as Faith clutched her chest with her hands and dropped to her knees. She was on the ground, and the loud silence that followed felt like not only the people were aware, but even the wind and the trees held their breaths. "What are you doing? Call 111. A girl with a very small and fragile-looking build said to the boy she had been clinging on to the whole time. She did not shout, but was audible to everyone due to the silence. "We are not supposed to have our phones in school," he whispered back, hoping he was quiet enough. Mr. Ankra, a math teacher across the grades, went to check on Faith, and one of the kitchen staff was already on the phone with the dispatchers. At that moment, a beat-up, white van pulled up into the school and parked right next to the court. The faded A and E on the ambulance, printed across the van, was not enough to make the people doubt the validity of the driver and the 2 health workers who were already taking out a stretcher. "Oh, they are already here." The kitchen staff who called the emergency number hung up. "Hey, Melissa, peep that driver. Shouldn't it be illegal for hunchbacks to drive? They shouldn't be allowed to drive regular cars. How much more ambulances?" A grade 12 student whispered to her friend, "I know. How does he see ahead? Plus, I was pretty sure hunchbacks did not actually exist. I thought they were fictional. Anyway, gotta go or my mom is going to freak out and call Ms. Sam." "Yay, I have to go too. Bye." Bye. Faith came around after deep sleep to find herself in a hospital bed. There were 12 patients in the room. She seemed to be the youngest. The others failed to not make it obvious how curious they were about their new roommate. She could feel their stares with her eyes closed. It was no secret they were wondering why a student in a Southeastern uniform could not afford a private room. Faith quickly turned to her mother at the bedside in response to hearing her feebly call her name. "Mom, I am fine. Let's go home right now." She was already hopping out of bed and putting on her shoes. "Sweetie, I haven't seen the doctor yet. Don't rush. Get back in the bed." "Sandra," Faith's mom replied, and then pulled a blanket over her daughter. Sandra was older than the average teenager's mom. She had Faith at 50 after she remarried. Before her divorce at age 45, Sandra was a mother of 3, to children she had at a 5-year interval since she was 30. She used to live comfortably with her husband, who was a politician, but she lived in poverty with her new husband after she got remarried. Sandra and Faith were seated in the doctor's office, and it was obvious by how hard a time he had getting his words out that it was bad news. "Can I speak to you alone?" he said to Sandra, while avoiding eye contact with Faith. "Mum, I need to use the bathroom." Faith walked out of the office. Faith actually did not need a bathroom break. She washed her hands, leaned over the sink, and stared at her reflection. She fell back in a startle with the appearance of a second reflection. "Sorry, did I startle you?" The man, now crouching over her, asked, "You know this is the ladies' washroom, right? You could get in trouble for being in here," she replied as she tried to catch her breath. "And you know it is 2020. You could get cancelled for telling me where I belong." Faith got on her feet to leave. "Wait. If you leave now, you are going to die soon." Faith looked back in anger and replied, "Who do you think you are? Who are you to decide my fate? You need to listen to me. I can save you. I have an offer." Faith stormed towards the bathroom door. "You really should not have ignored the pain. You did not want to be a burden, but now your death would bring heartbreak beyond what debt could have brought." Faith stopped.